Top of breaking news right now, Milwaukee's north side clearing the rubble after a 2-alarm fire and explosion just a couple of hours ago.
Let's go live to our Ann Sterling at the scene.
Good morning. I'm Battalion Chief Dan Lipsky of the Milwaukee Fire Department, Battalion 2 Blue. As I mentioned in my previous briefing, we had quite a intense house fire that we responded to this morning. To recap, we were on scene within 2 minutes of receiving the call of the fire, and what we found was a 2.5-story wood frame dwelling heavily involved with fire out of all the windows and through the roof, and starting to lick onto the exposures around it. One of the issues that we faced early on was the fact that we had 3 occupied residences that were affected by the fire that needed to be evacuated and searched to make sure that we didn't miss anybody, and also to make sure that there was no fire extension in those buildings. We were successful in that operations. All the occupants were removed. There was no injuries to any of the occupants, and in fact we did keep the fire from consuming those 3 additional structures. As you can see behind me, we have quite the debris pile. It appears to us upon our arrival that there was some sort of event that shook the house off of its foundation. We did have some basement block that were blown out from the building, and the building was listing to the rear when we got here. Within approximately 10 minutes of our arrival, the building did collapse and is in the state that you see it now. Right now we are doing a very labor-intensive and very dangerous operation in which we have to attempt to get to the deep-seated fire that's in this structure. We have requested heavy equipment from the city to assist us with that, but that generally does take a little time to happen. As you can imagine, when a building collapses, the roof usually ends up on top, and the roof continues to do its job, which is shedding water. So as you can see, we have to take an increased safety posture. We've put over 35 to 40,000 gallons of water on this building. The basement is full of water, and we have structural compromise. So we have to be very cautious in our approach, but as you can see, I have put companies onto what remains of the roof to begin cutting channels out so that we can get our hose lines at that deep-seated fire. I don't anticipate this operation being done before 8 or 9 this morning. I anticipate we'll be here for quite some time, and our arson investigator will be here even longer. At this point in time, there are no reported firefighter injuries, no reported civilian injuries, and we have no reports of any occupants of that building having been here at the time of the fire.
A neighbor told us there were people living inside that home, so you don't believe that to be true?
We interviewed the neighbors on all sides, and we were told that it is under new ownership and that they had an individual that was doing renovations on the house, and when he is here doing those renovations, his van would be parked in the driveway. That van was not here upon our arrival, nor is it here now.
Okay.
How intense was the explosion, would you estimate, given as it didn't just explode, it actually just caught fire and went up and was burning quite good for a while there, it seemed?
Well, we do have evidence of some sort of explosive event. Neighbors do report hearing 2 loud booms prior to the fire starting. It's too early in the investigation to say if in fact it was an explosion or what caused it. And as you can see with the damage behind us, with the entire basement filled up with water, it's going to be quite some time until we can do a thorough investigation.
In your career, the devastation, the damage there, looking at that, how significant, how severe is it?
The house is a total loss. It is 100% a total loss. We do have damage to some of the surrounding structures, but thankfully the men and women of the Milwaukee Fire Department this morning came out ready to play, and we were able to stop the fire from consuming those buildings as well.
Gas,
Yes, ma'am?
do you have an issue with gas in the building and stuff like that still going?
When we did our initial assessment of the building, we found that the gas to the meters was in fact already shut off, which is obviously something we'd look for. It is one of the things that is a tip-off. So that leads us in another direction in our investigation.
Milwaukee Fire Department updating the situation there. 24th place and hour. Seems likely that it was some sort of explosion, although they're saying the evidence points them in that direction, but he's not ready to declare so much at this point. I guess it's academic given the house being a total loss.
Battalion Chief Lipsky also saying that an arson investigator is expected to arrive on scene sometime this morning. They're also looking for heavy equipment to arrive to help them get through that rubble. So still a lot of work left to do. Our Ann Sterling will remain there at the scene and provide updates throughout Live at Daybreak this morning.